Okay. So today's session is going to be on bill of materials, kitting. We're going to jump right in to what these two icons mean. You'll also notice that there's some other things in here that relate to bill of materials, like copy bill of materials and update bill of materials. I'll go over those as well. There are some things that we need to have in place before we can enter bills of material. First of all, the master item number that you're going to be creating, and I'm going to go pick a master item number here from the system that we can use. So for instance, I know that this image, this desk accessory, is actually a manufactured item, and I think some of these items are also manufactured. So we'll be picking on the sample company database today and going over the different bills of materials that you can set up and create. But first of all, I want to just sort of give you a small orientation to the bill of materials screen. We'll get into kitting a little bit later. So the first item that we have here is our master item number. We then also down here in this grid have the component item numbers that go into that. Component item numbers may be items that we also sell individually if somebody were to purchase them one by one. So for instance, we have a pen, pencil, a stapler, a pencil cup. These are all items that are also finished good items that we might be selling in addition to the master item. Okay. Let's go open up the items screen also, just so that we can talk about some things in here with regards to our items. Whoops. Let me pull open. Let me grab this item number here. That's the one I actually wanted to put in here. So one of the things we can see is that this is a finished good. It's a finished good that we might be selling. It is sellable in this case. It's an item that we stock. We could also serialize this item or even lot number it. So you don't have any limitations there as far as using the bill of materials, even if it's a lot or serial type item. We also have the normal categorization of our items, and of course most of you know that categories and account sets deal specifically with the general ledger and the costing of the items as they move through. So all of your items should be set up in the system when you're getting ready to utilize them on a bill of material. So that's one thing, and I won't be going over how to set up items today because that's not the purpose of today's class. You'll also notice that we have a little plus sign underneath this first parent ID, which means this is a child bill of material underneath the parent. So you'll see that this is a bill of material as well, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And then it also has its own components underneath of that, which these components, again, may be sellable on their own as well. So if I go to that bill of material, and I got into here by just double-clicking the F3 Hunts-2500T item. So when I double-click that, it popped open another bill of materials screen, but you'll notice it popped open the IC components bill of material. Okay, so it is another screen that it popped open. It's different from the one back here, which is our IC bills of material. But we can actually then see all of the component items that make up this child record of that master bill of material. Okay, this is still an item number that could be sold in our inventory. Okay, so we also have levels, or what they call trees. So this is a tree version that we're looking at. We can choose to hide the tree, which basically means we want to just see the components and not necessarily the different layers or children records that are associated with the bill of material. I can also bring that back. Most people like to look at the tree version because it gives you a good visualization of the bill of material and any sub-bills of material that are used in conjunction with the master. We also can have different bill of material numbering. So if there are different versions of this bill of material, for instance, maybe there's a different cost that's associated with the bill of material, or there are slightly different quantities of the bill of material. Those can be established by creating a secondary bill of material. You'll notice that on this screen, it's showing me the difference right here. So the difference in these two is the build quantity. One of them is for a build quantity of 1, and then the second bill of material number for that same master item number is for a build quantity of 25. Okay, so I also have my little go button here. Okay, that is actually what that's called, a go button. That's the official terminology. Talk about keeping it simple. The go button will bring up all of the data on the grid down here, and it's basically showing us what is needed in order to make this quantity, which we've deemed to be a build quantity of 25. So all of these are the components that are required and their quantities for each of these bills of material. We can also go again and look at the build quantity for the secondary or the child record bill of material that's a part of this master item number that we're looking at, and see the quantity components required there. So we have a build quantity of 1, and then the component item numbers down here along with their quantities that are required in order to build one of these. The other fields that we have here are descriptions. So we may want to put a description in here that this one, this bill of material of 25. So that maybe that's a description we want to put in here regarding this bill of material number 2. Now, you can have your own bill of material number. So if you had separate versions of this master item number because the configurations were slightly different, whether it's different components that go into it or different quantities of those components, you can have a different bill of material number for a master item number. And that's what allows you to do that, is by building out your BOM numbers for your master item numbers here. We can indicate which of these bills of material we would use as a default. In other words, which one do we most frequently build or utilize in our company. We can put in a fixed cost. So if we know what it cost to build 25 of these, because that's the one we're working on right now, we can put that known fixed cost in here. We also can put in any variable costs per build quantity. Okay, so this means that it's going to do a $250 variable cost per that build quantity, which would be 25. And then what is the unit of measure that this item, this master item, will become once we build it out? We can indicate whether this bill of material has a particular start date. So, for instance, if somebody put this into the system out into the future because they knew they were going to implement this bill of material at a later date, because you've decided that you're going to change your manufacturing process or any other factor that might affect the bill of material, you can put start and end dates in here. You can also set a bill of material as inactive. So if it's taken offline, maybe research and development needs to reassess the bill of material or any of the components that are going into it, you can set it as inactive and it would not become available to choose from. Okay. We also can put bills of material, the master item numbers, on our sales orders. So if we're ordering this item, then we know it's on a sales order, and then eventually we would need to build out that bill of material so that we can satisfy the demand of that sales order. So, any questions so far on what we've covered on this screen?
I do. I have a question about the unit of measure.
Okay.
Do you have to build, like, for our business, we have different vendors who create their own products, like handcraft their own products. And we have one vendor who does like plastic bags and paper bags and things like that, business materials or business necessities. And when he sends the stuff, a lot of times they come in cases. The units of measure, we have it all, everything set up as each.
Yeah.
If we wanted to do this so that we can keep track of the cases that come in, do we have to set up the units of measure per case, or can we keep it as each?
If you're wanting to track it by the case, then you would want to set up over in the item master all of the different units of measure that item is capable of being stocked in.
Okay. All right.
Okay, or how you're building it to bring it in. Then you always have to have a stocking unit of measure. One of those has to be set to yes. So typically it's the lowest stock quantity that you're selling a product at that you would want to be the default or the stocking unit of measure default. But I could at any point in time in here put in an additional unit of measure for this particular item if I were going to build it out. Say I was going to build a case of these, a case of 12, because some people, a case might mean 24. So it just depends. You would need to be explicit, but your conversion factor is the main thing that you want to concentrate on here, because your stock unit of measure default, the one that you set to yes, always has to have the measure be set at 1. So that's why you would always see, no matter what, even if you had another case factor here, that this is normally the default stocking unit of measure, and it's always the one that's set at yes, because it's the lowest value at which you'll sell that item.
Okay, so
based upon a stocking unit.
Up that way. Yeah, we do have that set up that way. So if we were to go in and add, like, we sell it by the case and we sell it by bundles, we could set it up that way if we wanted, right? Or individually even. Yes,
you can. Just know that when you're using that on an order, it's usually always going to default with whatever your default stocking unit of measure is.
Okay.
So on your sales orders, you would need to pay attention to change that unit of measure that you're selling, because it's going to say each. And then that's where people get into trouble, because especially if you have a new employee come on board, they don't understand that they need to change that unit of measure factor to sell out 12. Or they'll end up putting 12, and they think they're putting eaches, but they actually just put in 12 cases, which in this case would be 12 times 12, which would be way more than what the customer might want. So just be careful of your units of measure and how you're using those, and training staff if you're going to make a change, because it can cause some problems if everybody's not on board with how it works. Best case scenario would be to set up a test company, train people in there on how it works, and then that way everybody understands, this is the repercussions of changing our units of measure or adding additional ones for selling purposes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But you're welcome. This is going to build 25 eaches.
Okay.
Unless I went in here and said I want to build 25 cases. Now, because that item doesn't have that extra unit of measure for case, I can only ever build the unit of measure that's been assigned to the master item.
Okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you'll also notice that there's some other fields in here. So we have yes to components, and what that means is that there's just another bill of material that's involved with that. But we already know that because we came over here to our tree vision and we could see those other components. But if it says no, that just means that this is a child record or a component item inside of the parent item. Okay. Now, a big factor here, this cost thing, okay? Everybody always says, how come I can't put anything in that cost bucket over here? That cost bucket, just ignore it. It really doesn't have a purpose for putting additional costs to the item. Okay, so that cost bucket we're not going to be covering here because it has no impact upon the finished good. It does not play a factor. The only cost that you can put in besides those of the item, okay, because your cost of this item or to build this item is only going to be determined by the cost factor for the item. So if I'm using first in, first out for these fluorescent desk lamps, it's going to use that cost, whatever it is, for that desk lamp. If I'm using weighted average for the pencils, it's going to be using whatever the weighted average cost is for those pencils to build this item out. Now, if this item is, say, being stocked by some other costing method that's not consistent with down here for your components, that's just fine. You just need to understand that whatever the costing method is for the master item and its components, that's what it's going to use. That's another part that people get a little bit confused about. Same thing, if you have a serialized item that you're using on here, like let's say these fluorescent desk lamps were serialized, and you were using serial costing for these desk lamps, that is the cost that it's going to use when it takes that fluorescent desk lamp out of stock and makes it part of this finished good. So all of the costs of these items will roll up into that master item number. Okay, we also can put comments in about what this item is. So there is the item description here, okay, at the top that gets inherited when we created the master item in the first place. But we can also put comments in here. So I may want to add additional comments like this is, again, build 25. So those are things that I can do to give clarity to this bill of material. Okay, so that's bill of materials. It's pretty simple. It's very simple to add bills of material. You just need to make sure that you've added that master item number here and that all of your components that you're wanting to add to that bill of material also exist. We can also copy bills of material. So this is just a simple copy feature of the system. So if you were changing anything about a bill of material, so here it's listing all the different bills of material that we have. So if I take this one, for instance, and I say I want to create another master item number, okay, now I'd have to pick a master item number that already exists. So don't forget that. So if you haven't already created your master item number, you would need to do that first. This isn't going to create it for you, okay? It's only going to copy this bill of material to, say, another master item number. So I would need to make it be very simple if I were going to do this. But it's telling me at this time, what are you trying to do? Because that item number doesn't exist. We can't find it. Okay. So again, you have to create your item numbers first before you can start using your bill of materials or even this copy bill of materials function. So once we get that in here, I'm just going to put in the same one here. I can indicate the build number that I want to use. So in this case, maybe I want to use 3 because I already have a bill of material 1 and a bill of material 2, right? So I'm going to hit my go button, and at this point in time, it copied over all of the components that were used in this bill of material, specifically this bill of material here. So now it's up to me to indicate what components do I want to copy over to this new bill of material number 3 that I'm creating right here, and any description. Okay, I can put in a fixed cost. So in this case, maybe I want to say it's $75, and my build quantity is 12. And my variable cost, I can put in, again, what I want to do there. So if its variable cost is $10 per build quantity, I'm saying that it's only going to cost me $10 to build 12 of these. So maybe I want to up that a little bit. And what is my unit of measure? Now, again, this unit of measure has to exist at the item level. So if I were going to build a quantity of 12 and I wanted to stock it as 12, guess what I have to do? Anybody guess? I need to come over here and indicate that, right? I need to put in a case of 12 and save that. Close this down, and I can go back into my copy bill of material. And I should be able to see now that I could build 12 and call it case 12. Build quantity is 1, right? If we're going to build 12 of these, I only need to do 1 because I'm already saying that I'm going to be doing 12 here. And that's what I'm going to end up stocking this as. Now, I do have to make sure that I'm putting the correct quantities in here. So if I'm going to be building 12 of these, I have to ensure that I'm putting the correct quantities in here to do that. I can also say that I don't want certain items to come over. So I could just say no to this, and we're not doing pencils with this. We're only doing pens. So I can tell the system I don't want certain things within this new bill of material that were on my old bill of material. I can also insert items, but I can't insert them here. I need to go over to my bill of material and do that over there. This is only copying from this bill of material number 1 up here. So it's not going to allow me to make a lot of changes to these things down here until it copies it over to the bill of material. So I can try to type all I want in these boxes, but it's not letting me because I'm telling it I wanted to copy from that bill of material, and that's exactly what it's going to do. So I'm going to create this. Okay, it's been copied, and if I go now back to my bill of material, you'll see that I'll be able to build out the rest of my bill of material over here where I can change my quantities. Okay, so I can do all the things that I need that are necessary to make this have the proper build quantity. I can also insert and add additional items. So maybe we're going to use a halogen desk lamp instead of the fluorescent. So that means I want to do what? I want to get rid of that item, and I've substituted the fluorescent for the halogen. Once I've completed everything regarding this bill of material, all I have to do is save it. Now, a big question arises, what if I wanted to modify this bill of material? Because there's components in here that perhaps I don't want, because maybe they're related to the pencil thing that I don't want as part of this bill of material, or maybe I just don't want hanging file folder bars to be included. So that means I also have to modify that bill of material because it has a relationship with this master bill of material that it's associated with behind us. So I can't make those changes in here, okay? I actually have to close this component bill of material screen down and open that bill of material up. So I would need to copy this one and modify that bill of material. This screen is only showing me that it's associated with the master up here. So just know that you can't modify the child bill of material records that are associated with the master. You have to go over to that child bill of material and modify it over there as well. Update bills of material. Now this is where you can make changes to a bill of material that already exists. So we might be doing a replacement of components. We might be removing components because maybe those are not available from our vendors or our suppliers anymore. Maybe certain nuts, bolts, pens, pencils, whatever you're manufacturing, maybe those particular item numbers are no longer available, and we could remove them and then replace them with another. So these are your choices. You can add, remove, or replace components on that bill of material. We can also update or change the fixed cost or the variable costs. Okay, so when you see this cost, it's not talking about that cost screen that I told you that we're not going to cover, that we're going to ignore. So this is only changing those variable or fixed costs that are associated with that bill of material. We have a choice here. We can say we want to do it by a percentage of the old cost. We can do it by a flat, I'm just going to change the amount, and we're going to increase it or decrease it. Now, when would you use that? You would use that if you knew, say, for instance, you had done a study or research that all of your variable costs are raising because of some new piece of equipment or safety equipment that you had to put in place for all of the manufacturing resources that are there, meaning your machinery. And as a result, that's caused an increase in your manufacturing process. So those are costs that you can change, whether it's fixed or variable, to those master bills of material and their child components. So if I did a blank to ZZZ, it's going to go find every master item number, and I do mean every one, and it's going to go and change them all. So if you're not sure of which master item numbers would be blank to ZZZ, I recommend opening up and looking at the Finder, because you can cause yourself a lot of heartache if you end up doing a mass update and it doesn't go exactly as planned. So for instance, all of these, if I were changing the fixed cost, you can see that most of these are set at 0. If I do a fixed cost that was blank to ZZZ for the master item number, it is going to update every single one of those to whatever I put in down here for my amount. So what does that mean? That means make backups. Before you do a mass change of any kind, make sure you make a backup. And coincide it maybe for after hours, or you know a time when people are not going to be needing to get into the system. Okay. Any questions on the bills of material before I move over to kitting? Just one thing here, the manufacturer's items, this is not related to your manufacturing, okay? This would be related to your item numbers that, say, you have manufactured by an outside company. And maybe you're ordering those from a different manufacturer. And some people do that. I've seen where corporations or manufacturing companies, if they get overburdened on their own load, they will subcontract out the same items that they're actually building in-house. because maybe they're trying to meet supply and demand. So you can place orders, purchase orders, and do things via the manufacturing items, which correlate with your manufacturing item numbers that you would normally build over in the bill of material. Okay, let's
Karen,
go to...
we actually,
yes.
we here at Keystone actually use that a lot because of us having over 70 different vendors, and they handcraft their own things. We use that a lot more than what we do with our Sage numbers.
Okay.
So is that something that we would use? Is that what we should be using to do our bills of material versus the Sage number or the item number? You
mean item number over here?
Yeah.
No, you still have to have these item numbers.
Okay.
You would not be able to add a manufacturer item number without that master item number. So see, that's the first thing it calls for.
Right.
Is what is your master item number?
So the
or what is your master bill of material number?
So that manufacturer's number that we have created will have nothing to do with any bills of material that we would have in the system. We would have to go by whatever the Sage item number is.
Yeah, so your Sage item number is and can become your master bill of material number, though.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing that you have to do is, if you're going to use bills of material, is create that master or finished good item, okay, that's going to become your master item number.
Okay.
That's the first order of business when you start using bill of materials. Create all of the master item numbers if they don't already exist. Many times they already do, because a company has been buying a master item number for years. So, for instance, if we go back to this desktop accessories bill of material here, many companies are buying this item from another manufacturer until they decide, hey, you know what, I think we can bring this in-house and build it ourselves a lot cheaper. That's usually what occurs at a manufacturing facility. So usually you've already got this item in your system, okay, which you've been selling as that item number all along. It's just now you're going to create a bill of material that you're going to start using to set up components and build that master item out, which is the same thing as the item over here. Which then, so right now, maybe you don't have bill of materials. Maybe you have this item number like this, and then you've got a manufacturer's item number, and maybe it's the 1500 image G, because that's what they call it. That's what your manufacturer, that's what their item number is. But this is your item number and what you call it, because we never want to give away what another vendor calls their product, right? Because it's easy to go do internet searches and find out, oh, well, who's making this? So we always like to brand things of our own accord. Manufacturer's item description, so this would be 1500 desk. So this is your manufacturer's description.
Okay.
And then this comment is just a general comment about that item. So when you are ordering this on a PO, you can use this item number that I just put in here. You wouldn't have to necessarily use that. That's really all that's good for, these manufacturer's item numbers.
Okay. Because
many times the manufacturer will say, look, if you're going to place an order with us, we want you to use our item number because we don't have any idea what your item number is. It's not ours.
Yeah, well, the way you're describing it is completely different than how we use it and how our system's set up.
Okay.
But I understand what you're saying and get it.
Okay. And it doesn't mean that if you're using the system for a different purpose other than what I'm describing today that you're doing it wrong.
Okay.
It just
wanted to make sure that. Yeah, you answered my question.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. we're not quite done with bill of material yet, but I'm going to stay on kitting, and then I'll move on to some of the things that we have to do to a bill of material. Like, for instance, when we get an order, we have to build some stuff. I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. Kitting items are a little bit different. So let's go grab a kitted item. So we have this pound office kit. And the first thing I want to show you over here is that when you're building a kit of any kind, first off, we have to set the item number that you're going to use for the kit. It has to have the user-specified cost method, okay? So I'm going to reach back here for a moment. I'm going to shut down these windows that we're not working with. Go back over here to our IC setup. Go to the account sets. I'm going to stretch your memory because I know we don't often get into this area because usually this is set up when we first set your system up, and we don't normally come back here unless we need to change something. So let's just say, for instance, that our company has decided to start creating kits. So we're finding that our customers like to have baskets of items sold together as a unit, okay? Another example of a kitted item might be when we purchase a barbecue grill, they give you this wonderful spatula, a basting brush, and a grill scraper as part of your barbecue purchase. So that would involve us building a kit, especially if maybe we're not going to make the kit part of the sale all the time. Okay, so maybe we don't want to set it up as a bill of material because we're really not manufacturing the kit because we buy the components and put into the kit. Okay, so kits are perfect for that and if things are changing. But in order to create a kit, we do have to have the costing method for those kit items at that kit item level be set at user-defined. Okay, so when we come into the kit item, you'll notice that this item number for the kit is actually using user-specified as its account set code. Okay, so that's a requirement. All kits must be using the user-specified costing method. Okay, so if you haven't got an account set code set up for user-specified, you will need to be doing that first. And you could even call it kit, you know. So try to keep it simple for yourself. Create that kit, user account set code, or whatever you're going to call it, and then you'll be adding the item first, just like we do the bill of material. You add the item first that you're going to call it, and then you would make sure you would sign that account set code there. Without that, you would not be able to add a kitted item. Okay, if I try to go add a new kit, and the item is not set as user-defined price costing method, it will not allow me to do that. We then create a kit number. Same thing as the bill of material number, okay, and you can have more than one kit number. In this case, I don't, but I can. We hit our go button, which I did earlier, and it brings up what's included in that kit. So usually kits are things that you're purchasing and not manufacturing. They're components that are going to go in and make up a kit. Kits can be sold on a sales order. So kits will automatically, when you ship that sales order, provided all of these items that are in stock, it will ship those out at whatever the costing method is for these items. Okay, so whatever the item set is, that's what it's going to be for this kit. And those costs would get rolled up into that sales order at their individual level. You would not see a cost factor come into play for the kit. Same thing here. We can't put anything in this unit cost field, so take no mind to that. It's gone. Any questions on kits? So let me demonstrate. We're going to pick on our favorite customer, Mr. Ron Black. Okay. Now, it's telling me here that information is needed to set up the unit price. That just means that we have not assigned a unit price to that for this particular customer. So that's okay. But notice that it's asking me for the kit or the BOM. Okay, so as soon as I put in my kit number, or I'm going to demonstrate the same thing with the BOM, it wants to know what kit number are you going to be using. Now, because our office kit only had one number, we would use that one. Okay? And that's all that's required. So when I go ship this order, it is going to pull all of those items from inventory. I don't have to go build the kit out. So I can indicate my quantity that I want to order, and then let's see if it's going to let me, I got to go put in my optional field. So I need to put in a value here. Okay, because I've got optional fields required. Now, the same thing if I go and order that desk accessory kit, okay, or it's not a kit, sorry, the bill of material. It wants to know what bill of material are you using. Now, you've got to be careful on this. Your salespeople do, whoever's entering your orders, because I have a build quantity here of 1, okay, a build quantity of 25, or in this case, a case of 12. So, Kathy, this is where I was saying you can really get yourself into trouble by using units of measure and people not really paying attention to what's going on when they're using, in this case, a particular bill of material. Because if I put this kit on here and I indicate that that's what I'm putting on my order, then I need to make sure that I'm ordering the right quantity as well, because this is going to manufacture 12. So if I put that number 3 on there, okay, and I go put in 12 over here, okay, that's 12 eaches, which is okay. I could also do 1, okay, and come over here and put in case 12. Either one of those would have worked. But to keep it with consistency of my bill of material, I may want to make sure that people are putting in the quantity ordered in conjunction with whatever my unit of measure is. Okay. So I just wanted to demonstrate that. So you do need to know the kit number or the bill of material number that you're going to be building out, okay, that you're going to use if you're going to put these on sales orders. Now, the main difference between my kit and my bill of material as far as the stocking and what it's going to do if I try to ship this right now, if I ship this bill of material and I have allow negative inventory turned on, it will ship this bill of material even if there's not enough in stock to satisfy the quantity for this particular sales order. If I try to ship my kit, it's going to immediately take that out of stock, and if there's not enough stock, it's not going to let me ship the kit, period. It's going to tell me you don't have enough on hand to ship that item. Now I'm going to come and put my optional field in over here so it'll let me go by here. I can see what I have in stock from a kitting perspective. Right here I have 0 kits on hand. You will never have kits on hand, okay? Kits are not a stockable item. They only serve the purpose of pulling all of the other components. So you would never see that you would have a kit in stock. It's only the components that you would be able to check. If they have enough on hand in order to ship this. I think that's probably one of the most confusing things is people assume that they're going to have enough of the components, but you'll need to check it to make sure, especially if you're going to ship this order right now. You need to go in here and validate whether you have enough of these waste baskets and the chair and the drawers in order to be able to ship this kit out. And the other factor with kits is that things have to be in stock at the location that you're going to pull the kit from. It's not going to just say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go grab this kit item from another warehouse if we don't have it in this warehouse. That's not how it works. It is going to assume that all of the items from that kit are going to be getting pulled from one warehouse. It's not going to go grab from multiple warehouses the components that are needed to build that kit. So, how can you check the stock of the kit? You saw me click on the little the information icon there. I can then come into each of these component items. Hovering over it, it shows me down here at the bottom what I have on hand at my different locations. So I have 143 of these on hand at location 1, which is the location it's going to try to pull this kit material from when we ship it. I have 0 waste baskets. We already have a problem. Not only do I have 0 at location 1, I don't have any waste baskets at any location, and none of them are on purchase orders or sales orders. So it's going to be a while before I can obviously ship this kit to this customer. I don't have any chairs. I don't have any desks, and I don't have any filing cabinets. We're not in very good shape to ship a kit. All we have is the desk lamps. So, again, that little button right here is part of how you would check to see if you have enough to ship that kit. Now, you can also use that. You don't have to go into that item tax. I just use the item tax button down here because it's a little bit easier to see. You can also go into it. There's another spot where you can look and see what you have available. If we go over to the quantity ship box right here. So we can't see. We already know we don't have enough of that item. Everything else is pretty much the same. You'll see some cost. It'll indicate what's the unit cost. That's just the last unit cost of that kit that you're seeing. It's taking into consideration what previous purchases were of that kit. On the bill of material, again, we've got the same things. We can look at those components, and I just clicked on the component screen down here to see quantity ordered, quantity shipped. There's been nothing. So none of these components, we haven't even built this yet. Now, we can see that there's 18 of these on hand of that item at the location that we want to ship from, okay, which is location 1. We have that right here. So we actually could ship this finished good. Now, finished goods are stockable items, right? This is a stockable item because we took a bunch of components and we built them into one finished good item. So in this instance, we do have enough, but you need to understand that this is in eaches, okay? Now, we already know that we're taking 12 of these from stock, even though the quantity ordered is 1, because our stocking unit of measure is 12. So we would be pulling 12 of these 18, even though it says quantity ordered 1. And that's because we also know that when we picked our kit or bill of material, we picked bill of material number 3, which is going to build out that many. So I'm going to hit the post button here, which is going to basically just save our order. We now know that we don't have enough of the kits, so we've got to talk to the purchasing department to get them to fulfill the component items that go into the kit, right? So that leaves us then discussing how are we going to get enough of the bill of material to satisfy the 12 that we need to ship, because if we just ship the 18 that we know that are already in there, 12 of the 18 that we know are in there, that's going to leave somebody else's order short most likely. So we probably should think about building those bills of material that we just put on an order so that there's enough in stock for the next guy that needs to place an order and have something shipped. So there's a couple of ways we can do that. We have this thing in our IC transactions called Assemblies. So we can indicate what we're going to be doing with our bill of material. This Assemblies and Disassemblies is specifically only for bills of material. So it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't work with kits because kits don't require assembly. Kits are just pulled directly from stock if there's enough. So we will do an assembly of our kit, of our bill of material. So in our description field, we want to put in what we're doing. So we might indicate the bill of material that we're going to build out, which is not that one. Oops. So something that we're giving a description that we're going to be doing. Now, we want to grab that master item number that we're going to build, and we better grab the right bill of material number, which, can somebody tell me which one of these it is? Anybody? How about 3? Okay. Then component assembly method, it wants to know what are we going to want to do with our component assemblies. So we can say all component master items or build component master items with insufficient quantities. Or none is also a choice. So I'm going to choose all component master items. We want to just grab them all. What location do you want us to put this assembly in when it's finished? So we'll indicate location 1. And then it already knows it's going to build 1 case of 12. And the build quantity here is 1. So at this point, I need to go in and verify my quantities. So there's a button down here at the bottom for verifying our quantities. These are the component items with insufficient quantity to assemble. So we now know we already have a problem with this bill of material as well. Somebody's in deep trouble in the purchasing department. So we don't have enough quantities on hand to even build this bill of material because there's components that are required or needed. We can change this and we still get some factor of the thing being wrong. Now, if I change it to none, I'm still coming up short of these items with insufficient quantities to assemble. This is not going to allow me to assemble these items without some sort of repercussion. Now, I would imagine that I've probably got allow negative inventory turned on, and therefore it went ahead and built my assembly. But if you have the appropriate quantities on hand of the components, you would not have any problems building out that assembly. I do not recommend that you allow negative quantity at any time. You are truly setting your organization up for a disastrous inventory and disastrous costing, auditing, and accounting by doing so. So don't turn it on. Just because it's a feature doesn't mean it's the right feature for an organization. You should understand the repercussions of turning that on for negative. Any questions on what we've covered so far? As always, we want to do day-in processing after we would finish something. Any questions while we're going through this? Anything at all? Well, if there's no questions, that's going to probably conclude our session, our training session for today.
I know I have no more.
Okay. Yeah, you guys have a great rest of the week. Kara, have a great vacation.
Thank you.
And we'll be talking to everybody again on the next month.
Thanks, Karen.
And thanks for participating.
Bye.
Bye-bye.